The snow whipped sideways across the shattered valley, stinging like glass shards against Sergeant Mason Hale's face. His exosuit compensated, shifting thermal plates and sealing microfractures in the plating, but even then, he could feel the sharp bite of cold through the metal. This planet, designation Corin 4, wasn't just hostile. It wanted him dead. The crash had been sudden, a missile screaming up from an unseen ridge. His dropship had spun out of control and buried itself nose first into the glacier. Now he was alone, cut off from the rest of his unit, with only a half-working survival kit and a signal beacon that might never punch through the storm. Mason trudged through knee-high snow, visor scanning faint signatures. No sign of enemy patrols, no heat trails except his own. His breath fogged inside the helmet. He muttered to himself, a soldier's habit for fighting silence. Survive, regroup, signal. Rinse and repeat. Then his HUD flickered. Faint pulse. Heat signature. Weak but real. His heart leapt life. He followed it. The storm fought him, trying to drive him back, but the beacon of warmth drew him onward until the snow thinned at the base of a cliff. His boots crunched over ice-cracked stone, and then he saw it, an alcove in the rock partially shielded from the wind. Inside, huddled against the wall, was a figure. First, Mason thought she was dead. Skin bluish, lips trembling, long strands of silver hair clinging to her face. She wore no clothing at all, just her bare form, shivering violently, arms wrapped around herself as if they alone could keep her alive. She was not human. Her body was slender, elongated limbs delicate but corded with sinewy strength. Her skin glowed faintly pearlescent, as though light shimmered beneath it. Her ears tapered to elegant points, and ridges traced her arms like natural armor. But her eyes, half-lidded yet still aware, were unmistakably alive, and they locked on him with desperate intensity. Mason dropped to one knee, already pulling the emergency cloak from his pack. "Stay with me," he muttered, wrapping the heated fabric around her trembling shoulders. Her lips moved. Barely a whisper escaped. "Pee, please." Mason leaned closer, hearing the fragile sound of her breath. "Please, pretend I am your wife." He froze. For a soldier hardened by years of war, those words hit him like a hammer. Wife. He had no wife. Never did. The military didn't leave room for that. And why would an alien stranger ask such a thing? But her eyes begged him. Not for romance, not for desire. No, it was survival she craved. She was dying, and whatever her reasons, she believed that request mattered. "I've got you," Mason said quietly, pulling her into his arms. Her skin was ice-cold against his suit. "You'll live. I promise." Middle. Secrets in the storm. Hours passed in the alcove. Mason had sealed it with thermal charges, trapping what little heat they had. He fed her rationed water, pressed heat cells against her skin, and kept the survival cloak wrapped around her. Slowly, color returned to her cheeks. Her name, he learned once her strength returned enough to speak, was Aerosol. She came from the Lissari, a people Mason knew only in passing briefings. Refugees of a shattered empire, scattered across hidden colonies. "You saved me," she whispered, her voice hoarse but steady. "Anyone would have." She gave him a look that said otherwise. "Not your kind. Humans are feared. Deathworlders they call you. But you," she trailed off, shivering again. Mason adjusted the cloak tighter. "You still haven't told me why you said that. The wife thing." Arizel's eyes lowered. Shame perhaps, or fear. "The raiders who rule this region, they don't kill bonded pairs. Their code forbids harming mates. A husband who shelters his wife cannot be separated from her. Not by law, not by blade. If I am seen as yours, I live. Mason absorbed this silently. It was absurd, alien, yet strangely human in its logic. She had gambled her survival on him. Then we'll make it convincing, he said finally. If that's what it takes. The storm raged for 2 days. Mason repaired his suit, checked his weapons, and shared rations with her. In return, Araceli told him about her people. She had fled an outpost raided by the Kothari, slavers who fed on weakness. Her entire kin bond was gone, taken or slain. She alone had escaped, only to collapse in the blizzard. You're not like the stories, she said once, studying him by the faint blue glow of their heat cells. They say humans are reckless, cruel, fire-hearted monsters. But you gave me warmth. Monsters don't carry survival blankets, Mason said with a small smile. Something softened in her then. For the first time, she leaned into his side willingly, trusting the heat of his body. And though Mason told himself it was only necessity, only survival, he couldn't ignore the quiet weight of her head against his shoulder, the way her shivering eased when his arm settled around her. The conflict. On the 3rd day, motion alerts triggered Mason's HUD. Raiders. A band of Kothari were sweeping the ridge. Araceli stiffened, fear flashing across her features. If they find me. They won't, Mason said firmly. But they did. The Kothari were tall, plated creatures with jaws like serrated knives. Their leader spotted the alcove, eyes narrowing as he approached. Mason stepped forward, rifle at the ready, but Araceli suddenly clutched his arm. Remember, she whispered urgently. Husband. Wife. The raiders entered, weapons drawn. The leader's eyes darted from Mason's armor to the fragile Lissari woman clutching him. Human soldier, the creature hissed. You trespass in Kothari territory. That female is ours. Mason tightened his hold around Araceli. She's mine. My wife. The Kothari laughed, a horrible sound like grinding stone. Your kind doesn't take wives of Lissari stock. Lies. Araceli surprised them all. She stepped forward, her trembling replaced with sudden ferocity. She pressed her forehead to Mason's chest in a gesture of intimate claim. He is my bonded. Harm me, and the gods curse you. The raiders faltered. Their law was old, sacred. Even they dared not defy it openly. But the leader's eyes glinted with cruel suspicion. Then prove it, he snarled. Show the bond. Mason's gut tightened. He didn't know what bond meant. But Araceli's hands reached for his, guiding them to the ridges on her forearms. They pulsed faintly, alive with bioluminescence. Instinct told Mason to press. He did. A flare of light burst between their skin, her ridges glowing, her breath catching. The raiders staggered back, hissing in disbelief. Bond confirmed, Araceli declared, her voice ironclad. He is mine. The Kothari spat in frustration, but they could not challenge it. With snarls and curses, they withdrew into the storm, leaving the alcove silent once more. Mason exhaled slowly. What the hell just happened? Araceli looked up at him, eyes wide but shining. You sealed the bond. You are truly my mate now. His mouth went dry. Wait, She cut him off with a faint, trembling smile. You gave me life. You gave me warmth. And now, by our laws, by our very biology, you gave me forever. Ending a new vow. When rescue finally came, 3 more days later, it wasn't just Mason who was found. It was Mason with Araceli by his side, wrapped in his cloak, refusing to let go. Command was baffled. An alien bonded to a human. Impossible. But Mason didn't care. He saw the way she looked at him, not with desperation anymore,